Have you ever stood in the middle of a supermarket aisle, looked at your register receipt, and wondered how 3 bags of basic groceries just cost you over $150? You did not buy lobster, you did not buy imported champagne, you just bought bread, milk, chicken, and a punnet of strawberries. Yet somehow, every single week, your bank account bleeds dry faster than it did the month before. Most people brush it off as basic inflation or the cost of living crisis, assume every shop is ripping them off equally, and keep tapping their credit card without asking questions. But what if I told you that you are deliberately being tricked into paying a 30 to 50% tax on your food, purely to fund celebrity TV commercials, bloated corporate headquarters, and shiny plastic loyalty schemes designed to track your spending habits? If you do a weekly shop in Australia, what is happening right now in the grocery sector directly hits your hip pocket, whether you have ever stepped inside a discount store or not. A major German supermarket operator has completely reshaped the landscape, throwing billions into expanding its footprint across the country, climbing past legacy players, and taking more than $1 in every 6 spent on Australian food. Today we are cracking open the system. I will show you why traditional supermarkets are terrified of the German model. We will expose the psychological tricks hidden in the middle aisle, unpack the secret markdown schedules that let you score fresh meat for 70% off, and show you a simple 4-step strategy that keeps over $1,200 a year in your own bank account instead of handing it over to corporate executives. Stick around until the very end, because the single biggest mistake people make happens right at the cash register when they are leaving the store, and fixing it takes less than 30 seconds. To understand why your weekly food bill is astronomical, you first have to understand how a standard Australian supermarket operates. When you walk into a traditional giant like Coles or Woolworths, you are not just paying for a loaf of bread or a tub of butter. You are paying for an elaborate, carefully engineered sensory theatre designed to extract maximum cash from your wallet while running up massive operational overheads. Think of a standard supermarket as a luxury cruise ship. It has soft background music calibrated to slow down your walking pace, wide aisles filled with bright display stands, full-service deli counters, in-store bakeries, rotisserie chicken ovens, and an army of staff whose sole job for 8 hours a day is to walk up and down aisles turning tin labels so they face front. Every single one of those elements requires electricity, floor space, equipment maintenance, and hourly wages. Now, where do you think the money to pay for that massive operation comes from? It gets baked directly into the unit price of every single tin of baked beans and box of cereal on the shelf. The industry term for this is ambient overhead padding. On top of that operational bloat, traditional supermarkets carry up to 30,000 different individual product lines. Carrying 30,000 items requires colossal distribution centers, complex logistics contracts, and massive retail footprints that cost a fortune in commercial rent. Worse still, the vast majority of those items are big-name national brands. When you pick up a famous brand of chocolate or laundry liquid, you are not just paying for ingredients, you are paying for that brand's multi-million-dollar marketing budget, their neon packaging, their executive bonuses, and the shelf space fee they had to pay the supermarket just to sit at eye level. The discount German model operates on a principle that is the polar opposite: ruthless, uncompromising efficiency. Instead of carrying 30,000 items, a typical ALDI store carries around 1,800 carefully curated lines. That means smaller store footprints, drastically lower commercial rent, reduced lighting and refrigeration bills, and streamlined logistics. Instead of stocking 5 different brands of peanut butter, they stock 1 or 2 private label options that they source directly from manufacturers in massive volume. By eliminating the middleman, stripping away corporate brand licensing fees, and refusing to spend millions on glossy television ad campaigns, they cut out the hidden costs you never agreed to pay in the first place. It is the retail equivalent of stripping a sports car down to its chassis. It might not have leather seats or a heated steering wheel, but it gets from 0 to 100 in half the time for a fraction of the fuel. Yet most Australian shoppers still walk into traditional stores every single week out of pure habit, completely oblivious to the fact that their loyalty is being monetized against them. They assume that lower prices automatically mean inferior ingredients, falling hook, line, and sinker for the oldest trick in the corporate playbook. Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to dismantle that lie piece by piece, look at the actual lab data, and reveal the exact mechanics of how you can exploit this system to cut your household expenses without sacrificing the quality of the food on your dinner table. Now let's pull back the curtain on how the big Australian supermarket chains are quietly draining your wallet, breaking down the exact traps, markups, and psychological tricks they rely on every single day. We are going from the least obvious money drains to the absolute biggest offenders sitting on Australian shelves. First up in our breakdown, the illusion of the everyday price cut. Look at how Coles and Woolworths present their home brand staples versus big-name commercial brands. Take something as basic as tinned tomatoes or pasta. Woolworths pushes their core standard ranges alongside legacy names like Ardmona or Legos. A standard 400-gram tin of premium brand diced tomatoes might set you back $2.50 to $3.00, while the supermarket home brand sits at around $1.40. But here is the sting. Independent product reviews and consumer investigations by groups like Choice have repeatedly pointed out that many house brand packaged staples are produced in the exact same processing facilities as the premium brands, using Australian-grown produce of identical grade. Yet when you buy the brand name at Coles or Woolies, you are paying a markup of over 100% per serving. That extra $1.50 per tin goes directly toward funding primetime TV sponsorships and glossy promotional catalogues. You are paying double for a colourful paper label that gets thrown straight into the yellow recycling bin 5 minutes after you open the pantry. Moving up the ladder of retail deception, let's talk about the loyalty card trap, specifically Everyday Rewards and Coles Everyday Rewards or Flybuys. Consumers walk in believing that holding a loyalty card shields them from high prices. The marketing tells you that member prices offer exclusive value, but take a close look at how the pricing mechanics actually function. A product will be given an artificially inflated regular shelf price, say $12 for a bottle of body wash or a box of dishwashing tablets. If you scan your loyalty card, the price drops to $8. You walk away feeling like a financial genius who just bagged a $4 saving. But if you check the price of that exact same item at ALDI, where no loyalty card is required, the standard shelf price for an equivalent formulation is $5.50 every single day of the week. The major chains rely on a practice known in retail as price anchoring. They inflate the base price so that any promotional discount looks like a bargain, while simultaneously harvesting your personal purchasing data. Every time you scan that plastic card at the till, you hand over a complete data profile of your household habits, which is then monetized to optimize target pricing algorithms. Former ACCC market studies into Australian grocery pricing have highlighted how opaque promotional pricing structures make it nearly impossible for the average consumer to calculate true value per unit. You think you are gaining rewards points worth a fraction of a cent per dollar, while quietly paying a 30% premium on the total trolley. If you are enjoying this deep dive into how retail mechanics affect your pocket, tap that subscribe button right now, because what we are covering next gets even rougher. Let's quotes look at fresh produce and the myth of premium freshness. For years, major retailers like Woolworths branded themselves as the fresh food people, creating an image of farm-to-table quality that justified higher shelf prices. But walk down the fresh produce section of a standard suburban Woolworths or Coles, and then compare it to the cold chain system used by ALDI. A punnet of standard Australian strawberries at Woolies might sit at $4.50, while ALDI runs their Super 6 fresh produce specials where seasonal fruit drops to $2.49 or lower. Independent food freshness testing reveals that because ALDI rotates smaller product lines significantly faster, their fresh produce often spends less total time sitting on store display shelves. Yet, consumers carry an ingrained psychological fear that paying less for fresh fruit or vegetables means accepting bruised or inferior stock. To counter this fear, ALDI introduced their Fresh Guarantee in Australian stores. If you are unhappy with the quality of fresh fruit or vegetables you purchase, you return them for a full refund, no interrogation, no endless customer service hassle. Traditional supermarkets rely on the fact that most shoppers who end up with a punnet of slightly soft tomatoes will simply throw them away rather than brave the customer service counter queue. They profit off your reluctance to complain, while ALDI bakes the guarantee directly into the shopping flow to remove the risk of switching. Now we arrive at the heavy hitters, the brand name price matching illusion. Ask yourself a simple question. If discount retailers like ALDI were not completely disrupting the market, why on earth would Coles and Woolworths spend millions launching explicitly named price-matching campaigns? Coles ran promotional pushes matching ALDI prices on hundreds of everyday items, and Woolworths constantly highlights comparative unit pricing across standard lines. They literally print marketing materials referencing the low-cost rival that keeps their executives awake at night. Here is the punchline that the big two do not want you to compute. Even when Coles or Woolies matches ALDI on a specific list of 200 basic items, like a 2-litre milk or a standard white loaf of bread, the rest of your shopping basket remains heavily marked up. Recent comparative market basket surveys conducted across Australian capital cities show that an average basket of 80 to 90 everyday household essentials came to approximately $160 at ALDI. The exact same basket of equivalent items at Coles or Woolworths, even after factoring in loyalty card discounts and special price-matched lines, consistently came out between $190 and $205. That is a $30 to $40 discrepancy on a single weekly shop. Over 52 weeks, that difference quietly extracts between $1,500 and $2,000 straight out of a family's bank account for the exact same nutritional output. The biggest culprit of all, sitting on Australian retail shelves, is the branded cleaning and laundry aisle. Walk down aisle 4 of any major supermarket and you will see brand name laundry detergents like Omo or Cold Power selling for up to $22 for a standard bottle or tub. Next to them, house brand options or ALDI's award-winning Laundrite and Almat powders sit at $5.00 to $7.00. Chemical analysis and consumer testing by Choice Australia have repeatedly rated ALDI's budget Almat laundry powder at par with or even outperforming brand name detergents costing 3 times as much per wash load. The active enzymes, surfactants and stain-removing agents are functionally identical that when you pay $22 for a plastic bottle of branded laundry liquid, you are not buying superior chemical engineering. You are paying for the multi-million-dollar advertising campaign, the celebrity voiceover on the commercial, and the prime eye-level shelf placement fee paid to the store hierarchy. The corporate structure relies entirely on your fear that a cheaper powder will ruin your clothes. They build a business model on your anxiety while quietly pocketing a profit margin that would make a bank jealous. Understanding this systemic markup is the key to breaking free from the grocery trap. The traditional Australian supermarket is not designed to help you feed your family efficiently. It is an engine engineered to maximize basket value per minute spent in the aisle. Once you realize that the food inside the package is virtually identical, the entire illusion collapses. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. Now that we have exposed how traditional supermarkets use sensory tricks, inflated base prices, and illusionary loyalty schemes to quietly empty your wallet, let's talk about the brands and products actually available in Australian stores that deliver genuine value without compromising on quality. These are the items that have passed independent laboratory tests, won Consumer Choice Awards across Australia, and earned their spot in a smart shopper's regular rotation. Let's start with the absolute champion of the laundry aisle, ALDI's Almat Laundrite and Laundry Powder range. If you've been paying $22 for a tub of name brand detergent at Coles or Woolworths, switching to Almat is the single fastest way to cut your cleaning bill by 70%. Independent lab testing by Choice Australia has repeatedly placed ALDI's Almat laundry powder at the top of performance rankings, scoring higher in stain removal and colour retention than premium brands costing 3 times more per wash. It works out to around 15 to 20 cents per wash load compared to over 60 cents for the big name alternatives. The texture is fine, it dissolves completely without leaving chalky white residue on dark clothes, and it leaves zero synthetic perfume smell behind. The only minor drawback is that the packaging is simple cardboard without fancy plastic scoops, but when you are saving over $100 a year on laundry alone, that is a compromise every sensible Australian household should make. Next up, let's look at the daily pantry staples where private label manufacturing works heavily in your favour, ALDI's Romano pasta and olive oil range. Many Australian shoppers assume cheap pasta will turn to mush in the pot, or that budget olive oil is blended with low-grade oils. But Romano pasta is made using 100% Australian durum wheat semolina, holding an authentic al dente bite and absorbing sauces just as well as imported Italian brands that cost $4 a packet. A 500-gram bag of Romano pasta sits at around $1.20 compared to $3.50 for legacy brands at the major chains. Combine that with ALDI's Romano extra virgin olive oil, which consistently meets Australian extra virgin olive oil standards for purity and acidity levels. It offers a fresh, peppery finish perfect for dressings or everyday cooking at a fraction of the cost of boutique estate oils found at Harris Farm or Coles. Moving into personal care and skincare, one of the biggest surprises on Australian shelves is ALDI's Lacura skincare line, specifically their Q10 anti-wrinkle day and night creams. For years, major beauty brands sold at Chemist Warehouse, Priceline and Woolworths have convinced consumers that effective skincare requires dropping $40 to $80 on a small glass jar. Independent blind dermatological tests and consumer trials have repeatedly shown that Lacura Q10, which sells for under $7, delivers hydration and skin barrier protection comparable to luxury products priced at 10 times the amount. It contains proven active ingredients like coenzyme Q10, hyaluronic acid, and vitamin E, absorbing smoothly without leaving a greasy sheen. The catch? Stock can be irregular during promotional cycles, so when it hits the shelves, smart shoppers grab 2 or 3 jars to keep in the cupboard. For shoppers who prefer buying organic or health-conscious whole foods without getting gouged, Woolworths' macro whole foods market range actually deserves genuine credit. While Woolies often marks up mainstream branded items, their macro range offers certified organic oats, nuts, seeds, and legumes at prices that actively compete with specialized health stores. A bag of macro organic rolled oats or canned organic chickpeas costs only slightly more than standard non-organic lines, making clean eating accessible without needing a luxury food budget. It gives you clear ingredient lists with 0 artificial preservatives or hidden fillers. Finally, if you shop at local independent grocers or IGA stores, look out for Community Co. Launched as an independent alternative to massive supermarket private labels, Community Co delivers high-quality Australian staples, from tinned beans to shredded cheese, while donating a portion of every sale back to local Australian community causes and charities. You get competitive pricing right alongside national brand quality, knowing that your grocery spend is actively supporting local independent retailers and community programs rather than lining corporate executive pockets. Switching to these verified options isn't about sacrificing your lifestyle or eating low-grade food. It is about recognizing that quality comes from the raw ingredients and manufacturing standards, not the size of a brand's marketing budget. When you stock your pantry with products that win on merit rather than advertising hype, your weekly food bill drops dramatically while your standard of living stays exactly where it should be. To take complete control of your grocery budget and avoid supermarket pricing tricks, here are 6 concrete rules to follow on every trip. First, always check the tiny unit price at the bottom of the shelf tag, comparing cost per 100 grams or per wash load rather than the large front price. Second, treat promotional tags with words like special or price drop as psychological traps until you verify the non-discounted house brand baseline. Third, scan ingredient lists for red flag terms like hydrolyzed protein or artificial flavorings, which signal cheap fillers used to cut manufacturing costs. Fourth, look for green flag certifications like Australian made and owned, certified organic, or Australian extra virgin standards, which guarantee raw quality regardless of brand. Fifth, shop the outer perimeter for fresh whole foods first before entering middle aisles where high-margin packaged goods sit at eye level. Sixth, learn the reduction schedule at your local ALDI, Woolworths, or Coles, visiting late in the afternoon when fresh meat and bakery stock gets stickers up to 70% off. The takeaway from this entire investigation comes down to one fundamental mindset shift. You must stop viewing your weekly shop as a loyalty habit and start running it as a calculated financial system. The Australian grocery market is engineered to profit off your brand attachment and your reluctance to challenge shelf pricing. Traditional supermarket giants rely on you paying extra for executive salaries, glossy television advertising, and complex reward programs that return cents while extracting dollars. Once you realise that discount store brands frequently use the exact same Australian producers and ingredients as famous national labels, the corporate illusion completely collapses. You stop paying for someone else's overheads and keep your hard-earned cash in your own account. Thank you so much for watching and taking the time to protect your household finances. If this breakdown opened your eyes, please share this video with a friend or family member who is still paying full price for brand name groceries at Coles or Woolies every single week. Drop a comment right down below and tell me, which of these brands is in your house right now and which one are you swapping out on your very next shop? Make sure to check out our deep dive video on hardware store pricing traps linked on screen next. Stop funding corporate marketing campaigns, demand true value, and take back control of your